This fallen over tree is where they're going to play around and mess around. And so we've got two of them up there. And it just goes to show you that lions can climb trees. I'm pretty sure the cub is going to get involved here at some point. I would be surprised if it doesn't. And I also think we might see a sub-adult go crashing to the ground if it walks any further along that fallen over tree, because there is very flimsy branches towards the end. And I'm sure if they stand there we go. Told you the cub would be up and coming. Was no ways that this cub was not going to get involved in this action. It was waiting for everybody to go up so that it could have a little go and kind of get up into the tree and join everybody else. So I'm not surprised it's there, and you can see it's kind of biting the ankles of the other one. Typical youngster. Well, you're going to get sat on for that. How cool is this, though? Lions in a tree is the most epic thing. The problem is the rest of the pride is moving on, so I'm not sure how long they're actually going to stay here for, but let's see. No, there we go. One has already jumped down and decided I'm not going to stay up here. I wonder if the other one will stay up or it will move. Little cub, what are you going to do? Are you going to stay up or are you going to go down? Nope, you're going to stay. Okay, so you're going to pose very nicely for everybody. Is that what you're going to do? I think it wants to go further up, but it's a rather large sub-adult in the way. And, well, when you're the size of a little cub, you're not going to be able to chase these sub-adults out of the tree. And so have to just be patient and wait and grab yourself a stick instead and make sure that you keep yourself entertained with sticks. Very cute. How cool is this, though, to have these guys up in the tree? And you can see they're not very sort of stable in the tree. A little clumsy. Oh, back pedal time. Now, is this sub-adult going to push this little cub out the tree? I hope not. I think they're going to have a very cool little game together. How cool is this? Oh, little one, you're falling backwards. You need to have to control yourself when you get into trees. How cool. Very, very, very cute. There's something about lions when they climb trees, and especially when cubs do it. It's a very kind of cute factor. Now here comes another one. Are you going to go up as well? Nope, going to rub ourselves on the tree. It's amazing what a fallen over tree can do for lions. It becomes like almost like a game that they all play around it and they kind of go up onto it. I'm surprised the young male's not here. He seems to like these kind of things as well. He seems to get onto the trees every now and then as well and kind of go up mounds. Seems to be quite a character in his own right. So I'm surprised he's not involved there, but the rest of the pride is now lying around, which is good. So I wonder if these guys are all going to stay up. Though this little one, this female, seems as though she's going to move, so maybe not. Let's see whether or not she's watching the little cub very carefully at the moment. Almost as to say, I'm waiting for you to come up. Come on. I think the cub might be quite obliging. So a lot of you are saying this is adorable. Oh, the cub climbing wasn't very agile, was it? It kind of flopped its belly over the top of the stump and then quickly kind of climbed over. Wonder if it's going to go up. It looks like it might. It's kind of looking at this sub-adult. There we go. Back up we come. Now, I think these guys are going to have a little game quickly and then probably find that they're going to flop down into the grass. So there we go, down into the grass. Although it's now being patted on the head. I don't know, I just want to see where the sub-adult goes, because if the sub-adult goes down, there's a stick that is the cause of all of this. Here you go, you see the little cub has just pawed the stick and pulled it. Now, of course, if you are an older sibling, you can't let the younger sibling have the toys, so you have to come and try and get involved. But why this little cub wants that particular stick that's caught in everything, I'm not quite sure. But you can see it's busy pulling it and trying to kind of get it somewhere where it can actually drag it around and play with it, but it won't get it out. That's a buffalo thorn stick that it's got there, and so those buffalo thorns latch onto each other, and it becomes very difficult to get those out at all. So it's going to pull as hard as it can, but it's not going to get anywhere. I wonder now if now that there's sub-adults out the way, if the cub's going to do some climbing of its own and go much higher up into the tree. We might see it do so. I'm not 100% sure. We'll just have to wait and see. But there seems to be a little game that's going to start happening between these two. And like I was saying earlier, it's amazing how much these sub-adults play with the cub. They tend to be very tolerant of it, and the little cub jumps all over them. And I suppose it's a bit of youthful exuberance that gets injected into the pride when the little one is around, and that's why lots of playing takes place. Or that one's just got its tail bitten. See how gentle they are, though, with it. You would have expected them to be a lot more kind of ferocious and feisty, but alas, they are very, very gentle. Here comes Mom is actually now coming in as well. But it looks as though everybody's just getting together to start finding a place to settle for the day. I don't think they're going to move too much more. I think it's been a case where they saw somebody on foot, and so they moved a little bit, and now they're just finding their area where they're going to sit tight and rest. Good. We're going to try and get through to where they are. There is a bit of a thicket here. I was hoping that they would play a little bit more on the tree, but I don't think so. I think tree time is finished. Lions are not great in the trees, so you find that they're never really that comfortable. But they're all on this side, so I'm just going to go round. There's a nice clearing in front of them. Caitlin, you're asking why Amber Eyes has different coloured eyes to the rest of the pride. Well, genetics. So it's like all of us have different coloured eyes. It just happens that way sometimes, that certain genetics come through and that you end up with these kind of different coloured eyes. Now, if you look in the sub-adults, there's one or two, or in fact, actually, there's quite a vast difference between the eye colours of a lot of the sub-adults. Some of them have got almost like a light kind of greyish yellow colour. Others have got more of that kind of butterscotch orange that Amber Eyes has got. Some are the normal, typical sort of golden colour. So they all got different coloured eyes, even in the sub-adults as well. So it's all just to do with genetics and how things work. Now, isn't that cute? So we've got a pile of them all grooming and licking and getting themselves clean, and the little cub right in the thick of it. Of course, it wouldn't be anywhere else. And there it goes. It doesn't sit still for very long. I suppose it's youthful exuberance. You find it with most cubs, is that they're up and moving all the time. And particularly because it's only the one, you find that it spends a lot more time kind of moving around and trying to look for others to play with, because it's probably a little bit on the bored side a lot of the time. If there was other cubs of its age, you'd find a lot more games would be played and a lot more fun would be had. Little ones would charge around chasing each other. This little one also probably gets beaten up a little bit by its siblings. And you can see there goes a sibling to go and chase it. And so the game starts. And it's amazing to watch how every time the cub moves around, all the sub-adults start to look in that direction as though, is there a game to be had and am I missing out? And they all kind of stare towards where the little cub is, as though it's the perfect toy for everybody to go and play around with. Very cool. So nice that we've been seeing the Nkuhuma Pride more regularly than we have over the past year. It's been a kind of tough year when it's come to lions. We haven't really seen much of them at all. And so it's nice to see them back and moving around here as much as they have been. It's always good when the Nkuhumas are here. They're such a beautiful pride of lions to spend time with. So, you know, hopefully they'll continue to spend a lot of time on Djuma. It's always, like I say, a good thing when they are around. I'm wondering why the male left, though. I wonder if it's just a coincidence that they've walked in a similar direction that the male lion did, or if the male just heard something or needed to go somewhere and that's why he left them alone. It's an interesting kind of thing, because you would have thought that these guys, well, the male would have stayed with all the females, the possibility of them hunting and maybe getting food, the possibility of, you know, mating rights. You never know. With Amber Eyes, she seems to go into estrus at random points. So it would be interesting, you know, to kind of see why he actually left. Maybe he heard another lion roaring or something like that. But grooming time has started, and so I'm pretty sure it's time to relax Elodie, you asking when would we know if Amber Eyes is pregnant? Well, it's a gestation period is, around 100 days, so 3 months basically. So you normally can start to tell if they've got little ones when they're about 2 months into their pregnancy. Then you can start to see their tummy really starting to drop. It also depends on how many cubs they're going to have. If they're having a situation where they have 4, 5, 6 cubs, then they get really big. Whereas if it's just one cub, then it's not as easy to tell. Now, interestingly enough, Amber Eyes, so a lot of people think Amber Eyes has never had cubs. They also, no one's really sure what her situation is, but she most definitely has had cubs. I've spoken to the guys at Simambili, and when the Nkuhuma Pride was spending a whole bunch of time there, she had cubs there. She had 3 of them, and unfortunately none of them survived, but she did have 3 cubs on that side of the world. And the reason why they probably didn't survive is because the Pride didn't stay there very shortly after that. The Pride moved off, and I think she just got dragged around far too much that she couldn't get back to those enough. And they probably find that also the high percentage of hyenas on that side was a bit of a risk for her. So she can have cubs, and it would be great when she does have a set that make it. So hopefully she'll have fairly soon, and we'll see Amber Eyes denning somewhere on Djuma. That would be ideal if she did. She's an interesting lioness. She reminds me a lot of a lioness down from the south of the Sabi Sands called Mantlev or Floppy Ear. And she was a very similar cat in that often on her own, complete own mission. She would move around, do her own thing, often was away from the Pride. And when she had cubs, she, funnily enough, was very strange with cubs. She would have the cubs, and then she would raise them for the first few months, and then once they became sort of able to move around with the Pride, she would just drop them off with the Pride and then disappear, sometimes for weeks on end. And so often her cubs didn't make it, and it seems like Amber Eyes follows a little bit of a similar trait. And I wonder if it's maybe a bit of inexperience from Amber Eyes' situation, where she hasn't, had cubs that she's successfully raised, or what the situation is. But hopefully, as she kind of has these litters, she's able to then start figuring it out, and she can get a successful litter at some point. It'll be, like I say, really good if she becomes a mom, because all the other Nkuhumas are moms at the moment, and it'll be interesting to see how this all kind of plays out. But there's lots of subdued playfulness, is what I would call it, in some of the sub-adults. There's one here that's got its paw up on a tree. Now, that's apparently a comfortable position. I don't know how that's possible, but apparently that's comfortable. And so one is just hanging out, doing its best orangutan impression. And I didn't think that would last very long. And then has now just dropped its paw out. So like I say, subdued playfulness within the Pride. And it's probably because of the conditions we've got this morning. Nice overcast, cool conditions, perfect for lions to just be a little bit more active than they normally would be at this time of the day. So nice that we were able to kind of get them when they're still up to something and moving around a little bit, because I think slowly but surely I'm just watching heads drop and them going into comatose lion mode that they sometimes do go into at times. But you can see it's quite a sort of cloudy day and a dark, dingy day, but very pretty nonetheless. It's something about these kind of cloudy days when you see lions in the green grass, and like I said, they stand out a lot in the green grass at the moment, and it's probably why hunting's also a little bit tougher for them. Is we can see they contrast heavily against this green. Also, a lot of the animals now are strong and healthy and as fit as they'll be through the course of the year. And so the lions are going to have to wait a little bit until it starts to get a bit more dreary and brown and dry before they can take full advantage and use the numbers that they've got. I'm also interested to see if the sub-adults in this next winter, because the winter that's going to come it's going to be interesting whether they start participating in the buffalo hunts a little bit more eagerly, or if they just kind of sit very still. Now, all 3 lionesses just popped their heads up and looked south of us. I wonder why. I wonder if they may be still picking up the scent of Rex and Byron. They're long gone. Rex and Byron left this area, but I wonder if they may be picking up the scent of them every now and then when the wind gusts. It's interesting. Right, well, our lions are probably going to settle here. They're going to be a bit more grooming and a little bit more playing. And so while that happens, it sends you back across to Ali. I wonder if she's still with Tingana or has she moved on?